with the money on the floor. Yeah, it's the money
Uh-huh.
from the bank, right? Ask me if sorry, ask me if those people have to give the money back.
Have to the people. I
Do
don't know.
those people have to give the money back?
Do those people give the money back?
No. Do those people have to
Uh,
give the money back?
do those people have to get the money back?
Give the money back?
Give the money back.
No, they don't have to. It's not an obligation, right? But they should. Repeat. They don't have to, but they should.
They don't have to, but they should. They don't have to, but
It is their, in this case, it is their moral obligation.
the moral obligation.
It's not the real obligation, but it's their moral obligation, right? No, they don't have to give the money back, but they should.
They don't give the money back, but they should.
Perfect. Uh, Poliana, ask me if I have to give my friend a birthday present.
Have you gift?
No,
Uh, uh,
no, ask me if I have to give my friend a birthday present.
eh, ha,
Do
do you
you
have
have to
to give your friend present,
a birthday present?
a birthday present?
A specific birthday? Well, I don't have to.
I don't have to.
Nobody's going to arrest me, right? I don't have to
I don't have to.
give her a present, but I should.
But I should.
Repeat.
I don't have do, but I should. I don't have to.
She's my friend, right? It would be nice. Repeat. It would be nice.
It would be nice.
It is a social obligation.
It's a social obligation.
You have a friend, it's her birthday, you go to her party, you give her a present. Right? You don't have to, but you should. Repeat. You don't have to, but you should.
You don't have to, but you should.
Perfect. Grupo, repeat. You don't have to give her a present, but you should.
Don't have to give her present, but you should.
He doesn't have to apologize, but he should.
He doesn't have to apologize, but you should.
Again, he doesn't have to apologize, but he should.
He doesn't have to apologize, but you should.
He doesn't have to send her flowers, but he should.
He doesn't have to send her flowers, but you should. He doesn't have to send her flowers, but you should.
So Bismarck, repeat. He doesn't have to send her flowers, but he should.
He doesn't have to send flowers, but he should.
Yes, Juliana, repeat.
He doesn't have to send.
He doesn't have to send her flowers, but he should.
Perfect. Grupo.
He doesn't have to send her flowers, but you should.
We don't have to shake hands,
We
but
don't
we should.
to shake hands, but you should. We don't.
Again, we don't have to shake hands,
You should.
but we should.
We don't have to shake hands, but you should.
I don't have to thank her, but I should.
I don't have to thank her, but you should.
Again, I don't have to thank her, but I should.
I don't have to thank her, but I should.
You don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
You don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
Again, you don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
You don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
Repeat, Poliana.
You don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
Yes. Juliana, repeat.
You don't have to put out your cigarette, but you should.
Perfeito. Up. We don't have to tip at restaurants, but we should.
We don't have to give. You don't have to. Okay.
Again, we don't have to tip at restaurants, but we should.
Don't have to tip at restaurant, but you should.
Perfect. Again.
You don't have to tip at restaurant, but you should.
Perfect. Grupo. Moral or social obligation? Should. Moral or social obligation?
Should.
Should. Group. Those people in front of the bank should return the money.
Those people in front of the bank should over the
A
money.
bit. They should return the money.
The money. They should return the money.
Fast.
They should return the money.
They should have returned the money.
They should have returned the money.
Again.
They should have returned the money.
Yeah, group. They didn't have to give the money back, but they should have.
They didn't have to give. They didn't have to.
Again, they didn't have to give the money back.
The money back.
But they should have.
But they should have. They didn't have to give the money back, but they should have.
Up. You didn't have to hold the elevator door open for the lady, but you should have.
They didn't have to. They did.
Again, you didn't have to hold the elevator door open for the lady, but you should have.
You didn't hold up the elevator.
So, Arthur, repeat. You
didn't have to hold the elevator door open for that old lady, but you should have. You should, yeah, should have.
But you should have the past. Yes.
Didn't have to.
All right. So everyone again. You didn't have to hold the elevator door open for the lady, but you should have.
Should have. They didn't have to hold the elevator door open to.
You didn't have to. Sorry. You didn't have to give your seat to the pregnant woman, but you should have.
You didn't have to give your seat for pregnant women, but you should
Again, you didn't have to give your seat to the pregnant woman, but you should have.
but you should have. You didn't give.
Again,
You didn't have to give your seat for the pregnant woman, but they should have. You didn't have to give.
group, you didn't have to help the blind man cross the street, but you should have.
You didn't have to cross the man.
Again, you didn't have to help the blind man cross the street,
You didn't have
but you should have.
help the blind man across the street, but they should have. They didn't
Juliana,
have
repeat.
to help to. They didn't have to help the
You
blind
didn't have
street, but they
to help the blind man cross the street, but you should have.
Yes. It's Mark, repeat.
You didn't have to help the blind man cross the street, but you should have.
Right, so go, repeat. Blind.
blind.
Blind. All right, so group, you didn't have to help the blind man cross the street, but you should have.
They didn't have to help the blind man cross the street, but they should have.
Third group, you didn't have to pour out your cigarette, but you should have.
You didn't have to put out your cigarette, but they shouldn't have. But they should have.
Again, you didn't have to pour out your cigarette, but you should have.
You didn't have to put out your cigarette, but they should have.
All right. So you didn't have to congratulate her on her promotion, but you should have.
You didn't have to congratulation for, but you should have.
But to congratulate someone.
Congratulate someone.
Hey, Jessica, congratulations on your promotion. I'm very happy for you. Come here. Ah, that's so good. You deserve it. Good job. Congratulations. Let's go to the bar after work. I'll pay for you, okay? A bit to congratulate. So you didn't have to congratulate her on her promotion, but you should have.
Should have. You didn't have to congratulate her on her promotion, but they should have. They didn't have to congratulate her on her promotion. Should have.
So group, a bit. Why should you greet guests at a party?
Why should you greet guests your party?
Again, why should you greet guests at a party?
At the party. Why should you greet guests?
Wait, to greet. Remember? To greet, to say hi. Hey, Paul. Hey, John. How are you? How is your family? Is everybody okay? Yes, so nice to see you here. Yeah. Hey. Say, Paloma, how you doing? Hey. But to greet.
Greet.
Look, why should you greet guests at a party? Bit.
Why should you greet guests at the party? Why should you greet guests at
Answer, Juliana.
greet guests at the party?
I should have.
No, not in the past. In general, why should you greet guests at the party?
Because it's polite.
Yes, grupo. You should greet guests because it's polite.
You should greet guests because it's polite.
Grupo, it is
Obligation.
a social obligation.
It is a social obligation. It is a social obligation.
That's what politeness is, right? A social obligation. Look again. It is a social obligation.
It is a social obligation.
Thiago, do you live in an apartment building or in a house?
Yes, in the apartment.
Perfect. So, Thiago, should you hold the elevator door open for your neighbors?
Yes, I should.
Why?
Because it's a social obligation.
The social obligation. Yes. What will happen if you don't do it? If you just like, and the door closes.
It's that he. Oh, I don't know.
There won't be, you won't get arrested or anything like that, but there will maybe
No,
be
but
social
it's
consequences,
incorrect.
right?
Yes.
So there will probably be social consequences. You won't have the best reputation in the building, right?
Hmm?
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Poliana, why shouldn't people be noisy inside a hospital or near a hospital?
Because it's a social obligation, and I
Yes,
think is prohibited too.
it is prohibited a little bit. Yeah, it is, but nobody does that. But is it only a social obligation or is it a moral obligation too in this case, Poliana? To not
It's a
disturb the patients.
moral obligation.
It's more like a moral, right? Don't just want to disturb the sick people, right? I think it's a moral obligation in this case too. Definitely. Atos, should you help people? Sorry, should you help elderly people with heavy stuff, heavy bags, for example?
Yes, you should help people, elderly people with heavy bags.
Why?
Because it's morally correct. You should do
So
it.
it's a
You
moral
should help them.
obligation.
Yeah,
Is it a social obligation too?
Yeah, kind of. It's both. Both of them.
So sometimes that happens, right, guys? For example,
Yeah.
Bismarck. One of the examples that I gave you guys, giving a seat to a pregnant lady in a bus, when you are in a full bus, for example, right? It's a moral obligation, obviously, right? It's morally correct. But is it a social obligation too, Bismarck? What happens if you don't give your seat to the pregnant woman?
It's a social obligation because I think it's polite.
It is polite, yes.
Yeah.
And also people will judge you, no? Everybody's like,
Yeah.
and maybe even put you on Instagram. Look at this guy, he doesn't want to give the. That's even worse nowadays, right? So yes, many obligations, guys. Many moral obligations are social obligations too, or vice versa, right? Everybody, I want more examples of social or moral obligations, okay? Juliana, can you give me another example of a social obligation or a moral obligation?
I don't know.
Come on.
Help
Anybody?
old people.
Help old people. You should help old people. Yes, okay, general. Okay, anybody else? More examples of social obligations or moral obligation? Juliana, Thiago's, Arthur. Come on. Nothing. Really? Yes, Thiago?
Say hello for other peoples in the street.
Greeting people on the street.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, but not only guys in the bar, but yes, greeting people, especially people you know, of course, on the street. Yes, that's a social obligation, 100%. Especially in a place
I
like
have-
Brazil. Yes,
I
Arthur.
have one too. Yeah, I think environmental responsibility. You shouldn't go throwing trash at the street. Yeah,
On the
That's-
streets.
on the
Perfect. I was
street, yeah.
looking for that. Yes, guys, there's a lot of things that you shouldn't do. Like you shouldn't put garbage on the street, right? That's also a social and probably moral obligation too. Yes, Poliana.
When we find the object the other people, we we
We
need no
Poliana,
we want no. We
Poliana,
no
we
sorry should we we should give a person
should
one
give it back.
to back. Isso, you should give to back.
Should give it the object. It should give it back.
Back.
Look, to give back, to return, to give back,
To
to return, to give back. Yes, any objects, right? Not only money, right, guys? You should always try to give it back. Sometimes you can't find the person, okay? But you should always try to give it back. And that's a moral and social obligation too, right? Definitely. What about sick people in a hospital? Jack Feijó, should you visit sick relatives, sickly family members in the hospital or now?
Yeah, not usually, but
No,
one
but
time,
shouldn't you? If your grandmother's in the hospital, very sick,
Ah,
shouldn't
yeah,
you
of
visit
course.
her?
of course, yes.
Yes. That's a very, very big social obligation. I think a little moral obligation too. In the case of your grandmother, for example, right? Perfect. All right. So, Arthur, ask me what I'm thinking about doing.
Teacher, what are you thinking about doing?
I'm thinking about moving. I'm renting this house and I'm thinking about buying one. But, well, I'm not sure whether to buy a house or an apartment. Repeat.
I'm not sure where to buy a house or an apartment.
Remember, whether, if for two alternatives, right? If for two alternatives, whether, group, again, I'm not sure whether to buy a house or an apartment.
I'm not sure whether to buy a house or an apartment.
Can you give me some advice? Group, repeat. Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Should I buy a house or an apartment? Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Again, should I buy a house or an apartment?
Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Juliana, repeat.
Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Perfect. Bismarck, repeat.
Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Thiago Lopes, answer the question for me. Give me some advice.
If you want more space, should you buy a house?
If you want more space, you should buy a house. All right. And if I don't,
You should buy a
I
apartment.
should buy
Should buy apartment.
an apartment. All right. Thank you for this suggestion.
Oh, space and the freedom.
And freedom. There's more freedom in a house, definitely. Apartment's more complicated, yes. So good, repeat again. Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Should you Should you buy a house? Should I buy a house or an apartment?
Should I visit my cousin at the hospital?
Should I visit my cousin at the hospital?
Again, should I visit my cousin at the hospital?
Should I visit my cousin at the hospital?
Again.
Should I visit my cousin at the hospital?
I'm not feeling well. Poliana, offer to call a doctor for me.
Shall I call a doctor for you?
Perfect. Grupo?
I ask shall I? Shall.
Shall.
should.
Shall. So shall. It's different. Okay, perfect. Shall is correct too.
Okay.
Okay, that's the same. Good. Repeat. Should I call a doctor for you?
Should I call a doctor for you?
Should I get you a glass of water?
Should I get a glass of water?
Again, should I get you a glass of water?
Should I get a glass of water?
Tiago Feijão, repeat.
Should I take? No,
Should
take
I
no.
get you
Should
a
I
glass
get
of water?
glass of water?
All right,
Should
Juliana,
I
repeat.
get you a glass of water? Should I get a glass
Should I get a glass of water?
Should I get you a glass of water?
Should I get you a glass
Should I get you a glass of water?
Perfect. Oh yes, please. Group.
Oh yes, please.
Again, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Again, absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Or repeat. No, thanks.
No, thanks.
Again, no, thanks.
No, thanks.
Perfect. Bismarck, ask me what I really enjoy doing.
What do you really enjoy doing?
Group, I really enjoy relaxing in a hot tub.
I really enjoy relaxing in hot tub.
Again, I really enjoy relaxing in a hot tub.
In a hot tub. I really enjoy relaxing in a hot tub.
Repeat, hot tub.
Hot tub. Hot tub.
Very common in America, outside, right? I really enjoy relaxing in a hot tub.
I really enjoy relaxing in a hot tub.
Bismarck, tell me, you have never relaxed in a hot tub.
Have you never?
Now tell me you have never relaxed in a hot tub.
I've never
relaxed in a hot tub. Repeat.
I've
never relaxing
in
a hot tub.
In a hot tub. I've never
Really?
in a hot tub.
Oh, repeat. Oh, repeat. I've never tried relaxing in a hot tub.
I've never relaxed in a hot tub. Tried relax in a hot tub. I've never tried relax.
Again, I've never tried relaxing in a hot tub.
I've never tried relax in a hot tub.
Really, group? You should try.
You should try. You should try relax in a hot tub.
You should try relaxing in a hot tub.
You should try relaxing in a hot tub.
Look, this try is experiment. Try in this case, experiment.
Experiment.
Try, experiment, experiment. Try, experiment.
Try.
Try. You should try relaxing in a hot tub. Group.
You should try relaxing in a hot tub.
Well, I really enjoy having a massage.
I really enjoy having a massage.
Arthur, tell me you've never tried.
Teacher, can you repeat?
I
I've
really
never.
enjoy having a massage.
Oh, I've never had a massage.
No, tried.
I've never tried a massage. Should I?
Wait, I've never tried having a massage.
I've never tried having a massage.
Yes, you should. Good. You should try.
You should try having a massage.
You should try having a massage.
You should try having a massage.
Look, I really enjoy meditating.
I really enjoy meditating.
Poliana, tell me you've never tried.
I've never tried meditating.
Really? Group, you should try.
You should try meditating.
You should try meditating.
Meditating. You should try meditating.
Again.
You should try meditating.
Group, I really enjoy
I
doing puzzles.
puzzles. I really enjoy puzzles.
I really enjoy doing puzzles. Thiago, tell me you've never tried.
I've never tried having doing puzzles.
Why
No.
having? No having. I've never tried doing puzzles.
I've never tried doing puzzles.
Really, group, you should try.
You should try doing puzzles.
Again, you should try doing puzzles.
You should try doing puzzles.
Again.
You should try doing puzzles.
Perfect. Sorry. Juliana, ask me if there is something wrong.
Is there something wrong?
Is there anything wrong?
Is there anything wrong?
Actually, yes. Look, I'm a little sunburned.
I'm a little sunburned.
Yeah, I was. Look, I was doing some garden work. I was doing some gardening today, and I got sunburned.
I was doing some gardening and I got sunburned.
Ask me, Poliana, if I wore sunscreen.
Do you wear sunscreen?
Did you wear?
Did you wear sunscreen?
No, I forgot to put it on. Wait, I forgot to put it on.
I forgot to put it on.
Group, you should wear sunscreen when you go outside.
You should wear sunscreen when you go outside.
Again, you should wear sunscreen when you go outside.
You should wear sunscreen when you go outside.
You ought to wear sunscreen when you go outside.
You ought to wear sunscreen when you go outside. What?
Again, you ought to wear
Ought to
sunscreen when you go outside.
Ought to wear sunscreen when you go outside.
With ought to.
Should.
Ought to.
Ought to. You should.
Ought to. Should. Ought to.
Should
Should.
wear sunscreen.
Ought.
You
You ought to wear sunscreen when you go outside.
go Go outside. You ought to wear sunscreens when you go outside.
Again, you ought to wear sunscreen when you go outside.
You ought to wear sunscreens when you go outside.
You should put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
You should put on a hat when you go outside.
Again, you should put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
You should put on a hat when you outside.
You ought to wear a hat when you are out in the sun.
You out in the sun. When you out in the sun.
Arthur, repeat. You ought to put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
Ought to put on a hat.
You ought to put on a hat when you're out on the sun.
In the sun.
In the sun. When
In
you
the
In the
sun.
sun.
Yes.
Out in the sun.
in the sun.
That's it. Be smart. Repeat. You ought to put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
You ought to wear a hat when out in the sun.
When you are
When you are in the sun.
out in the sun.
When you out in the sun.
Yes, that's it. So, grupo, you ought to put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
You ought to put on a hat when you are out in the sun.
Yes, very important. So, grupo, you ought to protect yourself from the sun.
You ought to protect yourself from the sun. From the sun. Protect yourself.
You ought to protect yourself from the sun.
You ought to protect yourself from the sun.
She
ought to protects herself from the sun.
Again, she ought to protect herself from the sun.
She ought to protect herself from the sun. Watch.
Again,
She ought to protect herself on the sun. From the sun.
she ought to enjoy being in the sun without taking any risks.
You watch.
So you repeat, without taking any risks.
Without taking any risk.
Again, without taking any risks.
Without taking any risks. Without taking any risks.
So repeat, enjoy being in the sun without taking any risks.
Without taking any risks. Being in the sun. Enjoy. Without taking.
So she ought to enjoy.
Ought to be in the sun without taking any risk. She ought to be. She ought
We
without taking any risks. We ought to be in the sun without taking any risk.
Perfect, good. He ought to. Sorry, repeat it. He ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
He ought to wear a shirt when he goes in the garden. He ought to wear a shirt when he goes
Again, he ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
In the garden. He ought to wear a shirt when you.
So, Poliana, repeat. He ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
He ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
Okay, so that was my internet. Juliana, repeat. He ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
He ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
Perfect. Grup,
You ought to wear a shirt when he works in the garden.
and grup. You ought to protect yourself under an umbrella when you sit by the pool.
You ought to wear an umbrella.
Again, you ought to protect
Protect
yourself
yourself. An
under
umbrella.
an umbrella
Under an
when you
umbrella
sit by
when
the
you
pool.
sit by the pool. You ought to protect himself.
Again, long sentence, right?
Yourself,
When
an
you sit
umbrella.
by the pool.
When you sit by the pool.
Under an umbrella when you
Under an
sit by the
umbrella
pool.
and you sit by the pool.
Again, under an umbrella when you sit by the pool.
Under an umbrella when you sit by the pool.
You ought to protect yourself
You ought to protect yourself when you ought to protect yourself when you under
All
an
right.
umbrella when you sit by the pool.
It is
Watch.
important, right?
Yourself under an umbrella when you sit by the
Okay,
pool.
so Bismarck, tell me, Mary. Repeat, I'm very dirty.
I'm very dirty.
Oh, take a shower.
Take a shower.
Ought to.
You
ought to take a shower.
Take a shower. You ought to take a shower. You ought to take a shower.
Yes, Thiago?
Is more common usage should or ought to in conversation form?
Should is more common, but ought to is common too. Like, although should is more common than ought to is common too. So, especially in England. When I was in America, but especially in England, it's more common. Okay? And in America, many times, they say, repeat, you ought to take a shower.
You ought to take a shower.
It's very informal. I don't like saying that. I prefer to say ought to, but you can say oughta when you're speaking, no problem. Ought to, order, when speaking only. Right? And that's only American. Definitely don't do that in England. All right. So, group, repeat. You ought to take a shower.
You ought to take a shower.
Group, it is his aunt's birthday. Oh, visit her.
You ought to visit her.
Ought to.
You ought to visit her.
He ought to visit her.
He ought to visit her.
Her closet is a mess. Organize it.
She ought to organize. To organize.
Ought to.
She ought to organize.
She ought to organize it.
Ought to organize.
Again, she ought to organize it.
She ought to organize.
My mother is really bushed.
My mother
Help her.
really bushed. She ought to relax. She ought to relax.
Yeah, repeat. You ought to help her.
She ought to help her.
You ought to help her.
You ought to help her.
Arthur.
You ought to help her.
Repeat.
Hi. Oh, she ought to help.
No,
She ought to
you
help her.
you ought
You
to
ought
help her.
You ought to help her.
Yeah, that's it. So I will repeat.
Ought
You
to
ought to
help
help her.
You ought to help her. Ought to.
The homework is very important. Do it.
The homework is very important. You ought to.
You ought to do it.
You ought to do it.
Again.
To do it.
We are completely broke. Work overtime.
We watch overtime. We watch overtime.
We should work overtime. Ought to.
We ought to overtime.
We ought to work overtime.
We ought to work overtime.
Thiago Lopes, repeat.
We ought to work overtime.
Feijó, repeat.
You ought to
We.
work overtime. We ought to work overtime.
We ought to work
Perfect.
overtime.
Grupo.
We ought to work overtime.
My sneakers are really smelly.
My sneakers.
Wash them.
You wash them. You wash.
Ought to.
You ought to
You ought to wash them.
wash them. You ought to wash them.
Again, you ought to wash them.
You ought to wash them.
Yeah. One day. All right. Let's see. Arthur, ask me. Ask me what Mary is doing.
Teacher, what is Mary doing?
Grupo. She is doing her She's doing her nails.
She is doing her nails.
That's okay, right? But Grupo, she's doing her nails in class.
She's doing her nails in class.
Grupo, to do your nails, to curl it, to sand it, right? Make it pretty, right? So repeat, she's doing her nails in class.
She's doing her nails in class.
Again.
Mary's doing her nails in class.
Grupo.
Mary's doing
Mary
her nails
shouldn't be doing her nails now.
Mary shouldn't be doing her nails now.
Yeah, she shouldn't be doing her nails now.
She shouldn't be doing her nails now.
Repeat, Arthur, repeat.
She shouldn't be doing her nails.
She shouldn't be doing her nails now.
Poliana, repeat.
She shouldn't be doing her nails now.
Yes, of course not. During class, no, bro. She should have done her nails at home.
She should have gone.
Before class. She should have done her nails before class.
She should have done her nails before class. She should have done her nails
Again.
class. She should have done her nails.
Group, Jennifer is doing the homework in class.
Jennifer is doing the homework in class.
Group, she shouldn't
be doing her homework now.
She shouldn't be doing the homework in class.
She shouldn't be doing her homework in class.
at home.
She shouldn't have done her
She should have
homework
done the
before
homework at home.
at home. She shouldn't have done her homework
Again.
at home. She shouldn't have done her homework at home.
Bill is burping at the elevator.
Bill is birthday at
Ugh.
the elevator. Birthday.
So repeat, at the elevator, no, sorry, at the table, in the elevator. Repeat, to burp.
To burp. To burp.
Yeah. Again, to burp.
To burp.
Bill is burping
Burping.
in the elevator.
Bill is burping in the elevator.
Again,
Burp. Burp. Bill is burping
he
in the elevator.
shouldn't.
He shouldn't be burping now in the elevator. He shouldn't
He
be
shouldn't be
burping
burping
in the elevator.
in the elevator.
Shouldn't be burping in the elevator.
He should have burped before he entered.
He shouldn't have burped before entered.
Juliana, repeat. He should have burped before he entered.
He entered. He should have burped before
Have burped
before entered.
Before he entered.
Before entered.
Yes. Arthur, repeat.
He should have burped before he entered.
Yes, Grandpa.
He should have burped before he entered. Before.
All right. We're going to stop here today because I want to talk to you 1 second. Okay. I told you yesterday that we started lesson 9, right? So